On one of the most fascinating corporate illusions of our time. Today, we're going to look at how a wildly charismatic CEO managed to build a massive enterprise, literally a castle of kombucha, that's spectacularly combusted. Let's dive into the rise and fall of WeWork, and specifically focus on the underlying mechanisms, the incredible vanity, and the sheer, unfiltered financial greed that fueled this whole thing.
$47 billion. Back in January 2019, that was WeWork's staggering valuation. To put that massive figure into perspective for a second, our sources note that made WeWork the most valuable private startup in America. We're talking worth more than Ford, Delta, and Hilton combined. It's just a monumental amount of money, and it perfectly sets the stage for the financial scale of the fantasy we're about to unravel.
But get a load of how they actually justified this valuation to the public. Elevate the world's consciousness. Yeah, you heard that right. That is a direct quote from Adam Neumann, the co-founder and CEO of WeWork. You see, he didn't pitch WeWork as a company that just, rented out office desks. Instead, he used this extreme, almost utopian rhetoric to disguise what was actually a fundamentally flawed business model. He claimed WeWork was a physical, social network and a literal movement.
Chapter 1. The $47 billion fantasy and the profit of open floor plans.
So, to hide the pesky little reality that WeWork was bleeding money on every single location they opened, Neumann spoke the language of Silicon Valley and basically invented a complete financial fiction. He called it community-adjusted EBITDA. Now, what is that? Well, it was a totally fabricated metric designed specifically to exclude basic fundamental expenses. We're talking about ignoring things like marketing, design, and administration costs. It was a very clever, though incredibly misleading, way to make catastrophic financial losses look like massive scale.
Now, you might be wondering, did sophisticated investors actually buy into this? Well, 12 minutes for $6 billion. Let that sink in. That highlights a pivotal 2017 meeting with Masayoshi Son, the CEO of SoftBank. Son met with Neumann for a ridiculously brief 12 minutes. The original plan was for a $3 billion investment, but Son was so intoxicated by Neumann's pitch about the energy of we that he doubled it to $6 billion right on the spot. He reportedly even told Neumann he was crazy in a good way.
Chapter 2, Selling the Cult of We, a movement disguised as real estate.
Internally, employees weren't just treated like workers. They were told they were members of a movement. The perks were absolutely legendary, precision engineered to appeal directly to millennials who were craving a sense of belonging. I mean, we're talking free beer and kombucha literally flowing on tap, mandatory tequila shots at company revivals, live performances by Run DMC, and neon signs everywhere screaming hustle harder. It felt less like a job and way more like an Instagram filter come to life. And it completely masked the fact that this was a commercial real estate company hiding behind the vibes of a tech bro baptism.
Chapter 3, The Greed Behind the Vibe, the Rot Beneath the Kombucha.
$5.9 million. While employees were distracted by all that free coffee and beer, Neumann's self-dealing was, frankly, breathtaking. Get this, he actually trademarked the word we through his own personal holding company. Then he turned right around and charged his own startup, WeWork, $5.9 million just to license the word back. It's just a stunning punctuation mark on the sheer audacity and rampant personal enrichment that was happening right at the top.
And that trademark, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The vanity acquisitions and staggering nepotism were completely off the charts. Neumann purchased a $60 million private jet just to fly his friends to surf camps. He bought a wave pool company and a coding boot camp using company funds, and somehow justified it all with this mystical logic of community. Oh, and he personally bought buildings only to lease them back to WeWork at incredibly inflated rates. Meanwhile, his wife Rebecca served as chief brand officer, reportedly firing employees for having bad energy, all while claiming her husband's mission was to extend human life and become the world's first trillionaire. You literally can't make this stuff up.
Chapter 4, The S-1 Reality Check, the 300-page collision.
So, cut to August 2019. WeWork files its S-1 document to go public, and that $47 billion fantasy violently collides with reality. The document revealed that WeWork had lost $1.9 billion in 2018 alone. And even worse, the company was sitting on $47 billion in future lease obligations with absolutely no clear path to profitability. That whole community-adjusted EBITDA fiction we talked about earlier, it was finally and completely exposed to the world. But the financial losses were really only half the story here. Publicly, the pitch was all about community, energy, and the power of we. But behind closed doors, that S-1 paperwork revealed absolute dictatorial control. It showed Neumann had a special class of stock giving him 20-to-1 voting control. It showed he had taken massive personal loans out of the company. And incredibly, it showed he had appointed his wife to choose his successor in the event of his death. The S-1 basically proved to potential investors that this wasn't a real business at all, it was a personality cult. What followed was a devastating 6-week timeline where this unicorn was absolutely slaughtered. In August 2019, they filed the S-1 at that peak $47 billion valuation. But almost immediately, the media turns on them and institutional investors just run for the hills. By early September, the IPO is postponed and then outright canceled. On September 24th, facing total collapse, Neumann is forced to step down as CEO. And by October, just 6 short weeks after that initial filing, the valuation craters from $47 billion all the way down to $8 billion. SoftBank was just left holding the bag, trying to salvage a complete disaster. Chapter 5. The $2 billion exit, the golden parachute. The fallout from all this is a really harsh tale of 2 totally different realities. For the prophet, Adam Neumann, SoftBank actually paid him handsomely to leave. He walked away with a package worth roughly $1.7 billion, which, by the way, included a $185 million consulting fee. He then bought a $17 million house in the Hamptons and soon after raised $350 million for a brand new startup. But what about the believers, the actual employees? Well, 2,400 people were laid off. They were left holding completely worthless equity in a company that ultimately filed for bankruptcy in November 2023. Some were reportedly even fired while drinking the very free beer Neumann promised would never run out. So it leaves us with a big question. When the neon signs finally turn off, who really pays for the hallucination? As we've seen in this explainer, that $47 billion valuation was never actually real. It was an illusion sustained by free beer, eager venture capital, and storytelling replacing actual substance. It's a really stark lesson about what happens when disruption just becomes a convenient excuse for unchecked corporate greed. It shows exactly why we have to look past a charismatic leader's pitch to see the actual math underneath. Keep this in mind the next time a so-called visionary promises to elevate the world's consciousness. Maybe make sure you check the lease agreements first.